two girls are getting totally manhandled by 5 grown dudes. The first girl screams for Rita, her maid, who's also being held captive. The guys start ripping the first girl's clothes, and Rita's like, "Do you even know what's gonna happen?" But before she can even finish that thought, the dude holding her just grabs her head and smashes it into the ground. He tells her to worry about herself. Then 4 of the guys totally pounce on the little miss. But hold up, a knight suddenly appears out of nowhere, and in a flash, he takes down all the men. This dude's name? Ark. Now, Ark finds himself in another world, and he's starting to totally freak out. He manages to calm himself down and checks out his gear. He instantly recognizes it. It's got light and fire element resistance, a seriously overpowered OP set of armor, the Armor of Belinus. His Twilight Cloak boosts darkness resistance and regenerates mana. He's also rocking the Shield of Two Tates and a sword that strikes as fast and bright as lightning itself, the Thunder Sword, Kalidbalg. This is basically Ark's character from the game he was playing. Ark remembers falling asleep yesterday while gaming. He wonders if this is all a dream, but the feeling of holding the sword is just too real. He's decked out in heavy metal armor, but he doesn't even feel the weight. He turns to a bush and decides to test out his sword, unleashing his Wyvern Slash skill. The Wyvern Slash is super powerful. It can take down multiple trees in just one swipe. Ark even tries out his fire magic, and it totally works. He's thinking, am I in the game? But it feels way too realistic. Last night, his main job was a knight with a sub-job as a priest, which means he shouldn't be able to use a mage's fire at all. Ark wonders if he can use all the skills from the knight upgrade path, which, if true, would mean he's super strong. He plans to test out his other skills, like any good gamer would, but his stomach has other plans. It's rumbling. He tries to use magic to open a gate to the nearest town, but instead, he just falls from the top of the mountain. As he's climbing back up, he remembers that the gate spell is for teleporting to towns he's already visited, which explains why it totally failed this time. He remembers another skill that should be handy for getting around, Dimension Move. This skill is basically a short-range, line-of-sight teleport. Ark gets to a stream and tries to drink some water, but as soon as he opens his mask and looks at his reflection, he sees a skeleton. He realizes he must have picked up the skeleton avatar and knows he definitely can't show up in town looking like that. Over in Louvierte Castle Town, everyone's buzzing about another huge basilisk, and they're all hoping they don't run into it. Ark walks downtown, and one of the store owners totally checks out his impressive outfit. Ark needs to get some cash first, before he can buy anything to quiet his hungry stomach. While he's walking down an alley, he overhears a man and woman talking. The guy says he couldn't deliver, even though the woman paid him double his usual rates for the investigation. He says he did the investigation, but it wasn't a payment upon success kind of job. Ark spots that the lady is an elf, and yells out how fantastic that is. He tries to follow her, but as soon as he steps out of the alley, she's gone. Ark then notices the emblem of the Mercenary Guild on top of a building. This is the place where you can take quests and get paid. An Ark walks in, and they tell him he needs a mercenary license to accept quests from the board, but from his looks, he seems like a knight who's already got a sweet gig. Ark tells the guy that circumstances have led him to need a license, and the guy explains that to get one, there's a trial. He has to hunt any beasts, monsters, or bandits and bring back proof. As Ark goes off looking for someone to defeat to get his license, he's immediately faced with an orc that attacks him first. He takes down the orc with just one strike of his sword. This is the first monster he's ever slain. On his way back after defeating the monster, he runs into some bandits who are attacking knights and a lady with her maid. He hangs back and watches the whole mess unfold until they rip the lady's clothes and are about to totally take advantage of her before he jumps in and kills the bandits. 4 of the bandits try to run away, but he uses Wyvern Slash to attack them and takes them down too. He walks back to the ladies and asks if everything's alright. Rita thanks him for saving them. Rita introduces the other lady as Lauren Laraya du Louvierte of the Louvierte family. Rita asks Ark if he's a knight serving some lord, given his appearance. He tells them to get dressed for now and they can talk later. He then goes to clean up the bandits. He uses his magic flame to burn the bandits' bodies. While Lauren and Rita are looking away, Ark starts looting the bandits' supplies on their horses. They come out and thank Ark for helping them in their time of need, and Ark replies that he's grateful none of them were injured. Rita tells him they'll be returning to the Louvierte house and invites him to come along. He rides one of the bandits' horses while the girls ride their carriage. Lauren keeps smiling at Ark. Ark returns to the Mercenary Guild with everything needed for a license. They totally don't expect him to bring the requirements before the day is out, but he proves them wrong. They check the corpse and remind him he forgot to take the rune stone off the orc, and they hand it over to him, along with his mercenary license. Rune stones can be made into magic items and weapons. Super cool. Ark is told to check the board if he's looking for work, as nothing too wild gets posted there. But if he wants to take on bigger jobs, he'll need to join a mercenary guild. Ark decides to celebrate, so he orders food to be brought to his room. By the end of the day, Ark fully realizes he's truly in another world, and he has tons of skills to try out, and even more fantasy stuff to encounter. Every morning, Marka's mom heads to the field as the sun comes up. She helps pick medicinal herbs. Their mom works super hard for Belinda and her. Ark's first job is to guard someone collecting medicinal herbs. He gets to the village and is directed to Siona's place, which is just just past the plaza. He arrives at the residence, goes inside, and knocks on the door. Then Helena and her older sister are eating when they hear a knock at the door. Marka leaves her food to open it, and she's totally shocked when she sees the knight standing there. He tells her he's come to accept the job he was posted for. Marka lets him into the house and serves him tea, asking if he wants to take her job. He tells her he does, and he's a little interested in picking herbs. Regarding the specifics of the job, Marka asks him if it's cool if they head out right away, and he tells her it's no problem. She's super happy and tells him to let her get ready. Ark and Marka are heading out to pick some herbs, right? And Ark's all like, "Yo Marka, is this super urgent or something?" Because he heard about fanged boars showing up near the village and needing protection. He's curious why she's in such a rush. Marka spills the tea, saying her mom's gonna be home soon, and if she finds out, she'll totally shut it down. So, Marka begs him to keep it a secret. Turns out, Marka's dad passed away last year, leaving her mom to do everything alone. Her dad used to pick herbs, so Marka figured if she could do it, it'd make her mom happy. They're pretty deep in the woods when Marka spots a kokora herb. She tells Ark it's good for cuts and scrapes, even for your skin, and you can burn it to scare off bugs. Ark's impressed. Like, wow, you know your stuff. Marka says her dad taught her everything, and if they go a little further, they'll find a kobumi tree. But just as she's about to zoom ahead, Ark sees something move in the bushes and calls her back. He checks it out, and boom, it's a hurt flying squirrel. Ark picks it up and uses some healing magic. Marka's stoked, telling him he's just like a priest. The squirrel's all happy and zooming around. Marka suggests it might want to follow Ark and tells him to name it. Ark throws out fried tofu and tempura, but the squirrel's not feeling it. Then he notices its fluffy tail, like a dandelion or tampopo, so he combines them and calls it Ponta. The squirrel totally digs it, sealing the deal for its new name. Suddenly, one of the villagers comes running back, totally freaking out about monsters. They're all like, "Dude, what's up? It's just fanged boars, right?" But the villager's like, "Nope, not just fanged boars. He's a seasoned hunter, and he's never seen anything like it." He tells everyone to bounce from the forest, like, right now. Meanwhile, Miss Siona, Marka's mom, shows up. An elder asks her if she sent Marka on an errand, but Siona says no. She thought Marka was home watching the house. Then the elder drops the bomb. There are big monsters in the woods, and he saw Marka leaving with some fancy-looking knight this morning. Yikes. So, Marka and Ark finally find the kobumi tree, but surrounding it is this crazy steep downward slope, which Marka just jumps down like it's nothing. The tree is in full bloom, all white and beautiful. As Marka walks toward it, a huge monster pops up. Its tongue is so long it can snatch birds right out of the air. It blasts them with poison fog, but Ark quickly teleports himself and Marka out of harm's way. It's a giant basilisk, and this thing is a total nightmare. Poison fog, paralyzing claws, and it can turn you to stone. Even a mid-tier player would be toast. The basilisk keeps attacking, but Ark keeps blocking and teleporting, totally dodging everything it throws. Ark's confident he can handle it as long as he's careful. He notices the monster's movements, and if this were a game, that would be a bad sign. The monster then unleashes a skill that turns everything around it to stone instantly, forcing Ark to use the Shield of Two-Tates to protect himself and Marka. Ark blocks a few more attacks, then busts out a combat skill from the top-tier knight class called Judgment. A massive sword erupts from the ground, piercing the six-legged basilisk and taking it down for good. Marka's amazed, saying the whole village will be celebrating. Ark asks her to keep the details of its death on the down low, and she agrees after he insists. Ark spots a ring on the basilisk's leg, but as he gets closer, it vanishes. He figures maybe this basilisk was chasing the fanged boars toward the village. Ark spots and kills a fanged boar to take back, grabbing the rune stone and fangs. He tells them to tan the hide for Marka and share the meat with everyone. Siona rushes over to Marka, hugging her with tears in her eyes. She's super grateful, but also asks Marka why she went into the woods when she was told not to leave the village. Marka hands her mom the herbs she collected. Ark comes over and apologizes to Siona, admitting it was careless of him to take Marka into the woods without talking to her first. He asks Siona not to scold Marka, saying he's never met a kid who cares so much about her mom. Siona smiles and thanks Ark. Meanwhile, other knights are fighting another basilisk in the woods, and some of them are already stone statues. They're using bows and arrows, and they manage to kill it. But the casualty report is grim. 15 dead and 38 injured. Way worse than they expected, even for an 8-meter basilisk. And get this, there's news of another one that was apparently killed with a single blow. To take that thing down alone, someone would have to be, like, a literal lord or the devil himself. The elf from the alley is walking through the woods, determined to become stronger than anyone. The peace treaty between humans and elves is pretty much a joke at this point. Humans keep expanding into elf lands, and in a world full of lies and unfairness, no one's helping the elves. That's why she's gotta be a warrior, as the leader's daughter, for her oppressed people. But meeting that silver warrior, that's totally changing her destiny. Ark is chasing some bandits through a tunnel until they hit a dead end, where he quickly deals with them. Ark's gotten used to these casual quests to make ends meet. After taking care of the bandits, he spots their war chest and knows these guys are up to no good. He also notices 2 empty, open cages. Ark tells Ponta to take whatever they can and head home. Selska reports that the assassination attempt on Lord Louvierte's daughter, Lauren, failed. Triton du Diento, Lord of Diento, asks Selska how they failed killing a little girl. Selska explains they took out all her bodyguards, but some random mercenary passing by wiped them out. Triton du Diento then asks about the beasts they sent from the Eastern Empire to the Louvierte lands. Selska says their contact from the east reported that the creatures were still experimental, which is why the two basilisks didn't work together well and ended up getting killed individually. Selska wonders why Prince Dekares is even targeting the Louvierte family. Triton du Diento suggests it might be a request from the prince's backers in the Eastern Empire. He goes on to say that if the northern lands were under the prince's control, the east could fully focus on invading the west. Selska confirms that the Louvierte family has the backing of Prince Sect from the Western Empire, meaning they can't afford to have their allegiance to Prince Dekares revealed. Triton tells him to secure their product because it needs to hit the market soon, and he warns Selska not to do anything that would get back to Princess Uriarna. Ark's just chilling, walking out of this tunnel, right? He's all geared up to head back to town and grab some epic dinner when bam, an elf totally ambushes him. They're throwing down, and Ark gets a quick peek at her face. He's like, whoa, wait a minute, I've seen her before. Turns out she's the same elf he spotted earlier. She's all, give back the kids you took, and Ark's totally confused. Like, what are you even talking about? I think there's a massive misunderstanding here. Then, just as things are getting super intense, Ponta pops out, and the elf totally recognizes Ponta as Ventu Vulpes. She's all surprised, like, why is a spirit creature hanging out with some random bandit? See, Ponta's a fluffy cottontail fox spirit creature, and normally, spirit creatures are super careful and almost never, ever warm up to elves. So, the elf totally apologizes to Ark, saying, my bad, you're actually not the liar I thought you were. Ark asks her what's up, and mentions he's been fighting a bunch of bandits lately. She spills the tea, saying she heard the local bandits were hunting elves. Ark tells her, sorry, but no elves captured in this cave, unfortunately. Elves are apparently super valuable on the slave market, which is why they're being hunted in the first place. Ark finally gets back home and, what else, has another killer feast. He's kinda wondering how he's gonna find that elf again, since she barely even told him her name. So, the next day, Ark uses his super cool dimension hopping move to teleport straight to the woods where he figures the elf forest is. He almost immediately stumbles upon an elf getting chased by a bunch of bandits. The bandits are stuffing the elves into a cart, and Ark just watches from a distance. Even though the elf told Ark to stay out of elf business, he just can't sit there and do nothing. But before he can even make a move, the same elf who attacked him earlier jumps out and goes straight for the bandits. The bandits are all, whoa, Mr. Udalan, she's a dark elf. That's a super rare find. Gonna make us bank. But Udalan just shrugs, do whatever you want. I'm not into feisty women. The elf totally kicks butt, taking down the bandits left and right. Ark's still hiding in the bush, watching, and he's like, okay, she's seriously strong. Udalan then tries to pull a fast one, telling her not to move and using the children as a shield, threatening to kill them if she makes a single move. The other bandits start closing in on her, totally checking her out while she's helpless. That's when she hears Ark's voice, like, hey, I know I said I wouldn't interfere, but I'm here to help. He Dimension jumps right behind Mr. Udalan and bam, hits him with his armor lariat attack, giving her the perfect opening to finish off the rest of the bandits. The younger elves are super happy to see her, and Ark just casually busts open the padlock, setting all the elves free. He tells them, hey, I'm a friend, nothing to be scared of. Turns out, these kid elves all have mana eater collars around their necks, which totally stops them from using their magic. That's why they couldn't escape, and even uses healing magic to fix up their injuries. The elf is totally blown away by all this, and she knows Ark is definitely not just some ordinary knight. She whistles, and this crazy spirit creature called a whispering fowl shows up. It can remember what people say and deliver messages. She uses it to send a message that 4 kids have been rescued and asks for someone to come get them. It's super hard for humans to tame spirit creatures, so these whispering fowls are how elves communicate. Help arrives, and the kids go with them. The elf finally introduces herself to Ark as Ariane Glenny's Maple. She's an elf warrior, and she's super grateful to Ark for everything he's done. The whispering fowl comes back and tells Ariane that their headquarters are in this village called Diento, and she needs to get there as soon as possible to help rescue the others. Ark had introduced himself as a mercenary earlier, so she asks him if he'd be willing to take a job right now. And now, some of the other elves probably wouldn't be thrilled about this, but Ariane's not just gonna trust any random human. But since Ark totally shows no prejudice against elves, saved those kids, and even a spirit creature likes him, she decides to trust him and asks for his help saving her people. Ark's all, deal, I'm your mercenary. Ark then uses his super cool gate to teleport himself and Ariane to the top of this mountain in front of the Lytle River. Diento's super close now. In Diento, Ark and Ariane meet up with her colleague, Danka. She introduces Ark to Danka as a mercenary who's gonna help them out. To avoid a huge scene on the street, they head somewhere more private. They end up at a bar, but Ark totally refuses to eat because there's no way he's taking off his helmet. Ariane introduces Danka to Ark as Danka Neil Maple. Danka's an elf warrior, just like Ariane, and he's been gathering intel. Ariane and Danka aren't actually siblings. They're just both from Maple City in the Great Canada Forest, which is why they both have Maple in their names. Ariane tells Danka that Ark's the mercenary who helped her when she was fighting elf hunters in the forest, so she hired him for the rescue mission. She also tells Danka that Ark's no ordinary mercenary and can even use teleportation magic. She introduces Ponta, who's Ark's companion, and with that, Danka totally approves of Ark. Danka's actually managed to find the baddies' base of operations, and it's near the entertainment district. That's where they'll find the missing elves. But the catch is, it's still pretty busy even after dark. They'll have to wait until super late at night when there are fewer people around. Since they can't act right away, Ark grabs his bag and tells them he'll be gone for an hour to run some errands. Danka's a bit surprised Ariane's relying on an outsider, but she tells him that if it wasn't for Ark, she'd totally be captured by now. She feels like she messed up as a warrior, saying her sister, Even, would have handled it way better and probably won easily. Danka tells her that for how young she is, she's done an amazing job, and with more experience, she'll totally be his equal someday. Danka asks if they can actually trust Ark, and she confidently says yes. They can. Ark, meanwhile, makes some cash from all the stuff he got off the bandits earlier and totally treats himself to some Goa beef skewers. The same meal Danka and Ariane were eating, plus some seasonal fruit pizza, salt-grilled rainbow, sword trout, and Diento's special honey beer. So more elves got snagged by bandits again. Seriously? The bandits are all like, we're gonna finish these girls off first thing tomorrow morning. But then, one of the girls just straight up tells them that one of their warriors is gonna come save them and totally wipe out the bandits. The bandits just laugh at her and drag her off by her hair, which is super messed up, but the other girls are still holding on to hope that someone's gonna show up and rescue them. Meanwhile, it's night and Ark, Danka, and Ariane are getting ready to kick off their mission. What they don't know is someone's totally watching their every move. They get to the front of the building, and there are guards everywhere, even at the back. Ariane's like, once these elves are free, anyone who gets in our way is toast. She asks Ark if he can teleport them to a window on top of the building, and Ark's all, no sweat. She suggests they move back a bit so the magic circle's light doesn't tip off the guards, but he's like, nah, don't even worry about it. He tells them to put their hands on him, and boom, he uses his dimension move to zip them straight to the window. Even Danka was impressed, and you know that guy's usually super chill. Ariane has to squeeze through this tiny window, but Ark just dimension moves himself and Danka right in. They start checking out the place, and in one room, they find a bunch of bandits, totally dead. Like, one clean strike to the throat for each of them, and the blood's still fresh. So it just happened. They split up to keep looking for the kids. Ark uses his dimension move to make sure his footsteps don't make a sound. He tries to get into one room, but it's locked. So, he dimension moves in, and guess what? More dead bandits. He's wondering who the heck is doing all this, and then, bam! The girl who was watching them earlier totally attacks him. He calls her a furry-eared ninja, and she's like, how do you even know what a ninja is? She figures he's not just some random intruder, and she doubts he's up to no good since he's with a spiritual creature. She asks if he's there to free the captive elves, and he's like, is that what you're after? She tells him she couldn't find what she was looking for, and then gives him directions to where the imprisoned elves are. She also mentions that 2 other elves are being held captive at the Lord's Manor, and then takes off. He opens the papers the ninja girl gave him, and it's a contract for buying elf slaves, with the name of Lord Diento right on it. Then, more bandits show up to attack them, shouting to everyone that they've got intruders. Ariane wraps her sword in fire and uses it to attack the bandits, clearing a path for the others. And they make it to the basement where the girls are being held, taking down every bandit and guard in their way, and they successfully free the girls. Ark uses Gate to teleport all of them out of there and back to the top of the mountain, super far away from where the girls were held. He notices these mana-eating collars on the girls' necks, and zaps them with uncursed magic to set them free. Danka is totally shocked that Ark can break such a powerful sealing curse so easily, and he's just wondering who Ark really is. The girls thank Ark for helping them, and Danka walks up to Ariane and tells her it's not over yet. He says the rest is up to him, and he'll make sure the girls are safe. He tells Ark to look after Ariane. Ark and Ariane then take off for the Lord's Palace, using Dimension Move. The 2 remaining elves are at the Lord's Palace, and things are about to get real bad for them. One of the elves just tells the guy to get it over with if he's gonna do it, and she calls him a flea-dicked bastard. Udolan, who's the son of Triton du Diento, was with the elf hunters and totally failed. Udolan's hand is already broken, and his dad asks him if he even knows how to handle elves. He tells him to pay attention while he shows him. The elves' hands are tied, and they're lying half naked on the bed. Ark and Ariane use Dimension Move to get to the Lord's Palace. Ariane tells Ark to let them go in from the bell tower since the Lord's chambers are probably way up high in the palace. The second they land, guards spot them, and Ark uses Wyvern Slash to cut the bell, drawing a ton of attention to the top of the building while they make make their way down, until a guard knocks on his door to tell him they've been breached by intruders. He asks why they haven't dealt with it, and the guards are like, "They're monsters." Ark and Ariane bust through the door to the room and walk in. The second Udolan sees them, he totally breaks down and starts screaming that it's them. Triton tries to attack them, and Ariane kicks him right where it hurts. She runs over to the girls and tells them to chill out. Udolan tries to run away, but Ark uses Dimension Move to appear right in front of him and tells him he's not going anywhere, breaking the wall in the process. He notices a hidden room and calls Ariane over to check it out. Triton tells them not to think they're gonna get away with what they've done, saying he's a Rodin Kingdom marquis, and Ariane just keeps hitting him. Ark asks her if she's going a little too far, and she tells him they broke the treaty first, so she sees no problem with making them pay. She tells the two elves that they can do whatever they want with him, and to get their satisfaction, so the girls beat Triton up. Guards walk in, and Ark tells Ariane to keep them busy, because he has stuff to do in the hidden room. She takes down the guards and tells the girls they need to escape and meet up with Denka, so they can head to Lalatoya. And Ark is busy stuffing gold bars into a bag in the hidden room. Ariane tells him she's done and asks what he's doing. He tells her she'd be surprised how much money it takes to rebuild an organization. He says if they tried to restart their abduction syndicate, they could lose all their funds. Suddenly, explosions start going off all over the building, and they both decide to peace out using Gate to teleport away from the castle with a huge pile of gold. Ark tells her he assumes he's fulfilled his contract, and she thanks him. She hands him a small bag of gold and asks if it's enough, and he accepts it. She asks him what he's gonna do now, and he says he doesn't really have anything specific in mind. She asks if he'd like to visit the elf lands with her and tells him that many of her people are still captive, and she'd appreciate it if he kept helping her. Ark really wants to go, but he asks her if they'd even accept an outsider like him. She tells him they'd have to meet with the elder and get his permission. Ark tells her he can never take off his armor, and she tells him he'd at least have to show his face when he meets with the elder. She asks if there's a reason for that, and he tells her there's a chance she'd turn her sword on him the second he removes his helmet. She asks if he'd show her his face if she swears not to turn her sword against him, and he takes off his helmet. Ariane is totally shocked when she sees him and asks him what happened. He tells her he's not even sure himself. He just found himself in these lands with nothing but his altered appearance. He tells her he figures it's some kind of curse. He's not gonna tell her he reincarnated as a game character because that's not something she'd easily believe. She tells him that if he were truly undead, he'd have the corruption of death and wouldn't be able to use healing spells or light magic to get rid of curses, and there's no way a spirit creature would be so attached to him. She tells him that he's given her the strength to save her comrades, and because of that, his secret would be safe among the elves. She tells him that the elders might know how to help if his appearance is from a curse. Ark tells her that would be awesome because there's nothing he wants more than to get rid of the curse that's messing with him. So things are getting super heated over at Olav, which is the capital of the Rodin Kingdom. King Carlon Delfrey at Rodin Olav is all like, "Yo, what's up with Marquise Diento? Who's behind all this?" And the first prince, Sect Rondal Carlon Rodin Sadier, he's like, "Still no clue who did it, Dad, but word on the street is the elves are involved." But Dakares Sisiai Carlon Rodin Vitran, the second prince, totally looks annoyed by that answer. King Carlon's like, "Sect, why are you even bringing up these rumors?" And Sect spills the tea, telling his dad that Marquis Diento broke their treaty, snagging elves and selling them to the Eastern Empire. He's like, "Now that rumor about the elves makes total sense, right?" But then the second princess, Uriarna Meryl Melissa, Rodin Olav, chimes in, "No way," and Dakaras is all, "Sounds like baseless rumors to me." He totally challenges Sect, asking for more proof. Sect, not backing down, asks if Dakaras is defending Diento. Dakaras slams the table, yelling, "Don't you dare trash the kingdom's nobility with just rumors." King Carlon steps in, telling them to chill. He agrees with Dakares, saying they can't just accuse the Marquis without solid proof, but he adds, "These rumors are definitely worth looking into." Sect just smirks. He says they should investigate Diento right away. Then he turns to Uriarna, asking for her take. She's heard the rumors too, and says if they're true, it's not just breaking a treaty with the elves, but it could seriously tick off other nations. She's like, they need to figure out the truth pronto and talk to the elves. Uriarna warns that if the elves get mad and stop their deals with Limbolt, other countries will blame them. King Carlon's like, forget the magic stuff. If they stop giving us the rune stones for crops, our own nobles are gonna revolt. He tells Uriarna to head to Limbolt and set up a meeting with the elves. Meanwhile, Ark and Ariane are just trekking through the woods, barely making progress. Up ahead it's clearer, so Ark uses his dimension move to zip forward and check it out. Boom! There's a stream! They get some water, and Ark even snags a fish. Later that night, Ariane tells the Whispering Fowl, whatever that is, to head back to Danka. She tells Ark that Danka and the girls they saved are safe and sound, heading to Lalatoya. Ark asks if Lalatoya is still far, and she's like, nah, just 2 more nights and we're there. Back at Olav, Uriarna's maid, Ferna, is serving her tea. Ferna asks if something's up, and Uriarna's like, I'm pretty sure my brother Dakares is in on this elf trading thing, and Sect's not gonna let that slide. Ferna, all excited, says that once Dakares is out, the throne will totally be Uriarna's or Sect's. Uriarna scolds her, telling her to zip it and focus on their diplomatic mission to Limbilt. Apparently, the Grand Duchy of Limbilt is the only place that trades with elves. elves. She says they gotta arrange a meeting with the elves to stop things from blowing up. Ferna's all, oh, it'll be so great to see your sister Seriarna. She married into the Limbuilt family. It's been ages. And then, bam, Ark and Ariane finally make it to the elf settlement of Lalatoya. Ariane introduces herself and asks for entry. She tells Ark to wait while she gets permission from the elder. This place is ancient and huge, probably been around for centuries. After Ark's been waiting forever, Ariane comes back, saying she got the okay from the elder, and he can come in. Ark walks in and is totally blown away by the elf settlement. He spots this giant tree and asks about it, and Ariane tells him the elder lives there. He meets Dylan Tog Lalatoya, the village elder, and his wife, Glenny's, who's also Ariane's mom. Ark introduces himself as a traveling mercenary. It immediately clicks for Ark that these two are Ariane's parents. Glenny's jokes that she's 170 years old, and Ariane's like, yeah, and I'm 245. Dylan says Ariane filled him in on the whole situation, and he's super grateful on behalf of all the elves. He's surprised she attacked a feudal lord's palace, but Ariane tells him they were the ones who broke the treaty first. Ark jumps in, explaining how they were just rescuing girls captured by Diento's lords. Dylan gets it, but says he still has to explain everything at the big elder meeting. Ariane offers to go with him, and Dylan's cool with that. He says he's heading to Maple tomorrow and they need to bring up this trafficking contract too. Glenny serves them dinner, and Ariane tells Ark to relax. Dylan tells Ark not to worry about Glenny's or him. The next day, Ark wakes up and finds Glenny's cleaning. She asks if he slept well. He asks if Dylan and Ariane already left, and she says they just did. She tells him to wait while she gets him some breakfast. Dylan and Ariane are on their way, using a transport circle to get to Maple, which was already set up for them. They pop up in the forest capital of Maple and head straight for the general meeting of the elders. The chief elder, Brian Boyd Evangeline Maple, tells Dylan he figured he was there to report on the kidnapping investigation. Meanwhile, Glenny's is showing Ark around the settlement. She tells him that for security, they've brought in a few smaller settlements, so now they're around 4,000 strong. Other elves are silently wondering what a human is doing there, some even saying they've never seen armor like his. But then, the girls he saved recognize him. They rush over, totally stoked to see him. Okay, so what went down at the Lord's Palace? Totally careless, guys. Breaking a 400-year treaty is pretty much a declaration of war. 600 years ago, there was a war that split the land in two. For elves, that was just a generation ago. But for humans, it's ancient history, no one even remembers it anymore. Someone suggests sending a notice to the Rodent Kingdom to explain things. But then the Great Elder, Fanga's Flan Maple, is like, nah, we don't owe Rodent Kingdom an explanation. And if we spill the details of the mission, the people doing it could get called out by that nation. He tells them not to look weak. Brian agrees that the humans broke the treaty, but he thinks attacking a lord's home was a bit much and could totally start another war. He says they'll keep rescuing their kind, but also carefully watch how Rodent's kingdom reacts. Ark is sparring with Glenny's out in an open field. She tells him she's the one who taught Ariane how to use a sword, so she's legit. She wants to know if she can rely on him. As Ariane's mom, she totally kicks his butt in the first fight, and Ark realizes he needs to get serious about sword fighting if he wants to survive in their world. Dylan and Ariane are heading back, and Ariane apologizes to her dad. He tells her it was the only way to save their people. He says she'll keep searching, and they'll hire Ark to officially help her out. He also mentions it would have been nice to see Even while they were in Maple. Ariane asks if he has business with her sister, and her dad tells her Even's getting married next year. Suddenly, Even runs up and hugs Ariane. She's like, I can't believe you were going home without saying hi. So glad I caught you. Even tells Ariane how proud she is, and that she heard about all the elves she saved. She says Ariane's gotten stronger, but Ariane's like, nah, I still have a long way to go compared to you. Ark and Glenny's were totally sparring, like, all day long. Then boom, nighttime hits, and Glenny's has to hustle to make dinner before Dillian and Ariane show up. Before they can even dig in, Dillian gathers everyone round, like, alright, huddle up team, we gotta talk strategy. He spills the tea that the Elder Council decided they're gonna keep digging into those dodgy contract names and of course keep freeing their people. He then asks Ark to keep helping Ariane, but here's the kicker, they can't really pay him much cause, let's be real, Ark seems to have way more cash than them. So, instead, Dillian offers up some super juicy intel that could totally break the curse on Ark's body. He's like, there's this spring near the Lord Crown that can bust any curse. Ark's all, wait, what's a Lord Crown? Dillian explains that out of all the dragon kin out there, the Dragon Lords are the top dogs, and a Lord Crown, that's a super rare, giant tree that grows wherever a Dragon Lord decides to chill. Some spirits live in it, affecting its wood and leaves, but if a Dragon Lord lives nearby, anyone who messes with those spirits is gonna have a bad time, like, a really bad time. Ark's like, so, can a regular dude even get into a Dragon Lord's turf and not die? Ariane jumps in, saying it'd be super risky for a human, but if an elf sets it up, they might actually get permission. Ark is totally on board, thinking this info is a way better deal than any money. Later that night, Ark's totally deep in thought, wondering if he's like this because of a curse or if this is just his old avatar. He decides to try out his uncursed skill on himself. He starts with his right hand, and get this, it totally turns back to human, but then, poof, it's back to skeleton hand. He keeps trying the spell, but it always goes back to being a skeleton after a bit. The next day, Ark and Ariane are trekking through this super dense forest, and Ark's just hoping he can figure out if his curse is even curable. Ariane asks if he's okay, and he's like, yeah, everything's cool. They walk into an open area with a pond and head straight for it. Ark spots these giant bugs all over the place, and as soon as they see him, those things start attacking. That night, Ariane asks him why he totally bailed on the bugs, and it turns out he's super scared of them, so she totally teases him about it. She pulls out a map and says she thinks they should just go straight through the forest instead of going around. A bar owner overhears them and warns them not to go that way, saying it's super dangerous and like 12 people have been attacked by haunted wolves. Ariane asks if those wolves have always been around, but the owner says they're a new thing. Ark sees how badly Ariane wants to get to their destination, so he tells her to go for it, and she agrees they'll head into the forest the next day. Meanwhile, the next day, over in Olav, a cart with the second princess in it gets spotted. Her maid asks why she's not rolling with a ton of guards, but Yaoi says the more escorts, the slower they move. Back in the forest, Ark and Ariane are walking right where they were told monsters appear. Ariane mentions that haunted wolves have blue glowing tails and they're like, the perfect gift for a bride-to-be. Ark asks if she wants some for a veil, but she tries to talk him out of it. Suddenly, they both sense monsters nearby and get into their fighting stances. Ark slashes at a wolf, but it just vanishes into thin air, making him think it's an illusion. He remembers these wolves are like a pack-hunting, illusion-creating type of monster, designed to confuse their prey. He keeps attacking, but they're all illusions. He sees a bunch of them charging at Ariane and tries to warn her, but she just blasts them with magic, and he sees how powerful she really is. A ton of wolves are trying to bite his armor, but their fangs can't get through. He spots the pack leader watching from a distance, so Ark uses Dimension Move to teleport right to it. The wolf dodges his attack and leaps into the air. Ark notices a magic rune on its foot, just like the one on the Basilisk. He tries the Basilisk attack again, but the wolf dodges and attacks Ark from behind. Ark uses flame magic at point-blank range, then slashes the magic rune on its foot. The wolf realizes it lost its rune stone, calls its pack, and they all retreat into the forest. Ariane catches up, asking what he was doing. She sees the magic rune on the ground and watches it dissolve. Ark tells her about the magic ring and how it's just like the one he saw on that giant basilisk he fought. She wonders if these rings are why there are so many weird creatures in the forest, but Ark can't confirm it. Ariane asks for a moment, and he figures she wants to chase after those wolves for her sister. Not too far from Ark and Ariane, the princess's cart is rolling along. Ferna tries to cheer her up, telling her not to worry. Yuriarna tells Ferna that their secret mission to the Grand Duchy of Limbolt is straight from the king. She suspects Dekaris is involved in the elf trade, and Sect is trying to take the throne, making the whole situation super tense for her. Suddenly, the cart stops, and they're under attack. Meanwhile, Ariane has totally caught 3 haunted wolves and tied them upside down to a tree. Ark is reflecting on his earlier fight, realizing he still has a long way to go, even with all his skills. He figures his magic skills are useless unless he knows how to use them well, so he decides he's gonna ask Ariane for combat training whenever he gets a chance. Ponta senses someone nearby and alerts Ariane and Ark, leading them to it. Yuriarna and Ferna are surrounded by enemies. The enemy opens the cart door, and Ferna tries to protect Yuriarna but gets taken down with one hit. Yuriarna jumps out to reach Ferna but gets stabbed from behind and falls unconscious. A hooded figure congratulates the attackers and tells them to make it look like bandits did it. Another person walks up and hands him Yuriarna's necklace. The Ponta jumps on an enemy's face, trying to fight, but the enemy grabs her and tries to kill her. Ark totally stops the guy and throws him off. He kneels down, checks the situation, and thinks about using his resurrection skill on the princess and her maid. The enemies fire a bunch of attacks at him, but they do nothing. The wolves he fought earlier show up and start hunting down the enemies, and Ark joins in. Once the wolves are done, they leave, and Ark goes to check on the girls. Ark uses regeneration magic, a spell that brings people back to life with all their energy restored, but it won't work if the damage is too bad or if too much time has passed. Ark revives the princess and tells Ponta to keep an eye on her while he brings the others back. He tries it on everyone there, but notes some can't be saved because the damage is too severe. When they wake up, Ferna tells Yuriarna what happened. She's like, dude, we were brought back to life. What even happened? Yuriarna gathers her soldiers, hypes them up, and tells them to take her to Limbolt. Ark watches from the shadows, totally surprised she's royalty. He feels like he just did something huge. He walks back to Ariane. She asks what happened, but he doesn't spill all the details. Ariane has already snagged those foxtails for his veil, and they continue their journey to the royal capital, Olav. Olav is totally bustling with life. Ark sees some guys trying to fight a girl and tries to help, but Ariane stops him. The girl walks up to Ark, making him super nervous. He realizes it's the ninja chick from before. This ninja girl totally pops up and introduces herself as a traveler. Her whole deal is trying to rescue her beast folk, who apparently got snatched by humans. She's been around, and in one town, she stumbled upon this super weird guy. Like, he smelled different from everyone else and had this crazy strong vibe. She remembered him because he had a spirit creature chilling with him, which meant he wasn't like evil or anything. Now that she's run into him again, she's all, "This is fate, man." The cat-eared ninja, still the same girl, meanwhile, congratulates him on saving the elves. She's like, hey, we gotta talk, but not here. Ariane then asks Ark who this mysterious girl is, and he's like, oh, she's the one who gave me the intel on the elf locations. Don't even know her name though. The ninja's all, oops, my bad, and introduces herself as Chiyome, one of the Jinshin clan's 6 ninjas. Chiyome then whisks them away to a new spot for their chat. Ark introduces himself as a traveling mercenary, and then introduces Ponta and Ariane to Chiyome. Chiyome immediately cuts to the chase, asking Ark why he called her a ninja before. He explains that back where he's from, people dressed like her are usually called ninjas. She tells him that term is, like, super secret and only known within her clan. She then totally freaks out and decides he must be from the same country as her super old founder, which totally gets Ark's attention. Ark asks if her founder is still alive, but she says it was, like, 600 years ago, so the founder's basically a legend now. Ark's brain starts spinning, thinking maybe her leader was also Japanese and got reincarnated into their world 600 years ago. Ariane then asks Chiyome what she actually wants to talk about with Ark, but Chiyome hesitates. Ark remembers back in Diento, she was taking a huge risk on her own, looking for something. He figures out it wasn't just about the elves. Chiyome finally steals herself and tells Ark she needs his help, freeing her buddies, totally confirming his suspicions. Ark already knows beast people get treated like garbage in this world, so it's not a huge leap to figure out her people are also getting a raw deal. Chiyome then says she thinks both of them are looking for people on the contract or something, and she can offer them info on where they are if they help her out. Ark tells her he's currently on a contract to help Ariane and her people. He asks Ariane if it's cool for him to help Chiyome. Chiyome's been trying to save her people since she was a little kid, and Ariane sees they're in a similar boat, so she agrees. She says she'll totally join Ark in helping him save her people. Meanwhile, Prince Dakaras is totally complaining about the wolves not listening to him at the last minute. His assistant asks if someone destroyed the rings. He concludes Yuirarna is still alive and probably took a different path. His informant tells him that ever since the Diento incident, the beast people have been causing way more trouble for their slave business. He asks the informant if he thinks the elves are after him, but the informant can't confirm, so he orders the informant to fix it. He says he's going into hiding and heading to his safe house. Ark asks Chiyome if her great founder was a beast person like her, and she says nope, he was human. She says he was a spy who took beast people under his wing and taught them ninja stuff, which makes Ark pretty sure her founder was Japanese. When they hit up the biggest slave market in the capital, Etsat Market, she tells them they're about to attack the place. Inside, some slave traders are asking about the value of their products, and another says business has been tough lately, but Prince Dakaras will be happy. Chiyome tells them to make a big scene and then bail fast. Ariane doesn't get it, but Chiyome says it'll give some slaves a chance to escape. Ark realizes Etsat is just a diversion, and a bunch of other slave markets in the capital will get hit at the same time. She knows not everyone can be saved, and she's ready to sacrifice 10 to save hundreds of slaves. Ark and Ariane agree to stick with her until the end. He then tells Chiyome about his super cool teleportation magic, and she's totally shocked. She says her founder could do that too. Chiyome then figures out they can use Ark's teleportation magic to save the captives in Etsat. She decides to tell her crew before they do anything, and informs them the attack is happening tonight, so they better be ready. They head back to their inn and have dinner to get pumped for their night raid. Ark dresses super weird, saying it's to be a decoy, but Ariane absolutely hates the outfit. Chiyome shows up with a huge person, and they introduce themselves. Ark asks if Chiyome is her real name, but she says no. She tells him some names are like ranks based on their ninja skills. This confirms his suspicions because he totally sensed she's named after a famous kunoichi. Goemon, the ninja next to Chiyome, walks up to Ark and challenges him to a strength battle, which immediately sparks a friendship between them, leaving the girls completely bewildered. They get into position, ready to sneak into Etsat. Ark and Goemon act as decoys, walking right up to the guards at the main gates and then charging in. This makes all the other guards rush to the noise, leaving their posts. Chiyome and Ariane seize this chance to infiltrate Etsat. Ark and Goemon are causing total chaos at the front gate. Ark blasts the guards with magic, totally terrifying them. They call for more guards to try and form up around the intruders, but they get stomped easily. Prince Dakaras gets the news that Etsat is under attack, and he's not happy about it. The informant briefs the second prince on everything going down, and Dakaras orders him to send in more guys. Inside Etsat, Goemon and Ark are just going wild on the guards. The ninjas sneak into Etsat, and the guards rush to the front gate, giving Chiyome and Ariane a chance to bust in. Ponta notices a guard looking their way and makes a move, alerting the girls. Chiyome uses her water-style jutsu to attack and take out a bunch of guards. More guards show up, and Ariane uses fire magic to zap them and take them down. They charge into the inner chambers and find tons of slaves in jail. Chiyome introduces herself and tells them her plan. She ends up freeing the slaves. More guards flood into the jail room, but Ariane takes them out easily, giving Chiyome enough time to free all the slaves. Ark and Goemon crawl out of the rubble they made earlier, fighting the guards and plan to enter the prison, but Chiyome and Ariane interrupt them. The girls tell the guys they already freed the slaves in the main prison, and all that's left is the back prison. Ark tells them to hurry up, saying castle reinforcements will be there soon. Goemon decides to stay at the main prison to buy them time against the reinforcements while Ark and the ladies head to the back prison. prison. They easily handle the guards protecting the prison and get to the underground. They free all the slaves there but come across a prison door with a cloth covering dead prisoners. The other slaves tell them that the slave masters just dumped sick prisoners in that room. Chiyome is totally sad, but Arc tells her they need to get the remaining slaves to safety. And outside the slave house, Gemon is fighting off a ton of guards by himself. Arc gathers the beast folk in a circle and uses gate magic to teleport them to a safe distance outside the building right before it collapses. Arc leaves the slaves with the ladies and tells them he's got something to take care of. Gomen is holding his own against the guards but gets injured. Arc shows up just in time and thanks Gomen for holding out. He tells Gaemon the mission is a success and now all they gotta do is take out the soldiers. Arc teleports the bodies of the slaves to a safe spot and lets Ariane cremate them properly. The souls of the fallen beast folk leave their bodies and just dance into the sky. Dakara totally trashes his room, flipping out cause Etsat's report is garbage. He tries to check things out himself, but then bam, his own informant stabs him. He asks, why? Before he passes out, Sek just waltzes in the second Dakara's is out cold and thanks Cetrion, Dakara's informant. Sek's totally gonna use Dakara's slave situation to his advantage, planning to announce Yuriarna's death and pin it all on Dakara's. He struts off, declaring the Rodent Kingdom is his now. Back in the forest, Chiyome gives a big thanks to Arc and Ariane for helping rescue the beast folk. She tells them they're all safe and sound. Gomon and Arc, being Gomon and Arc, challenge each other to another strength battle, and then, thank each other afterwards. Ariane tries to cheer Chiyome up, but Chiyome is absolutely determined to get stronger, no matter what. The three of them hop on a boat, cruising through the channels of Olav Town. Chiyome thanks them again, and they ask her where she's headed next, which she totally spills. She decides it's time to finally give them the info she promised. Over at the Grand Duchy of Limbolt, Princess Yuriarna rolls up to the castle and sees her sister waiting to greet her. She practically tackles her in a hug, and they both start happy crying. Her sister tells Yuriarna how the news of her getting killed by Dakara almost broke her, and Yuriarna looks totally surprised. So she asks for the full scoop. They go over everything that went down at the mansion. Her sister fills Yuriarna in, explaining how she was told Dakara's was behind it all, but then he got offed by Cetrion. When Yuriarna realizes Dakara's is actually dead, she gets super uneasy, knowing Sek's probably gonna snag the throne. She asks why Dakara's was pegged as her killer, and her sister explains that Yuriarna's special necklace was found with him at the murder scene. Yuriarna totally suspects Sekt planned the whole thing. Her sister is just stoked Yuriarna's alive and suggests telling their dad, but Yuriarna's against it, saying she's sure it'll be useful later. She asks her sister for help meeting the elves, for the good of both their races. Ariane sends the Whispering Fowl to Danka after learning about the messy situation they're in. Arc remembers the info Chiyome gave them earlier about how the Revlon Empire is tied up in the elves' slave trade. He remembers how super serious Ariane got when she first heard that, and he's just stoked he gets to travel internationally. Ariane hurries him up and they jet off to the Revlon Empire. At the Revlon Empire, some dude reports to the Emperor about Prince Dakara's death and how his brother Sekt killed him. The Emperor is not happy about it, especially since he backed Dakara's. He asks the informant if the princess is still alive, but the guy tells him she's dead. The informant grins, saying things are going according to plan. He also tells the Emperor that the rings of the beasts were destroyed every time they were called. The informant suggests that maybe another attacker killed the princess. The Emperor figures it must have all been Sek's plan. He asks the informant about someone named Fumba, and the informant says the plan to wreck Olive is in full swing. In the deserted lands, crawling with monsters and weird plants, Arc's crew stares at these bizarre creatures. Arc gets super hyped when he realizes some of the flying creatures he saw earlier are wyverns. They try to send messages with the Whispering Fowl, but it won't fly cause the sky is just packed with wyverns. Arc just jumps off a cliff and blasts them all with a lightning spell, accidentally hitting his friends too. He teleports and realizes he totally messed up. Someone is watching his group from far away, taking notes. Ariane is complaining at a bar, saying she'd really appreciate a heads up next time he uses massive magic. He apologizes, and they discuss their route. Arc notices Ariane's expression change and asks what's up, saying he noticed her hesitation about coming to this empire after Chiyome's info. She explains that capturing elves isn't illegal here, and that's super concerning. Since she's an elf, it's gonna be way more dangerous than before, and she admits she's more nervous. A guy in glasses walks up, telling them he saw them in the desert earlier. He introduces himself as Karsi, but before he can finish, Ariane smashes a vase over his face. She asks why an elf would expose his ears in the middle of a human town. Ariane is totally shocked by the casual conversation happening between an elf and a human, and then she sees the bar customers invite Karsi to eat with them. She demands an explanation. Karsi calms her down and joins their table. He tells them he's been in this town for 10 years and wants a world where humans and elves can live together peacefully. Ariane asks him if he even knows what humans have done. Karsi agrees with her, but then reminds her that she's traveling with a human despite her bitterness. She tells him Arc is a special case, and Arc asks Karsi what he's there to tell them. Karsi says he makes a living studying plants and is having trouble finding specimens, so he needs their help. Ariane shuts him down, saying they have more important stuff to do. Karsi then then hands them a map of the region empire, and they're both surprised he has exactly what they need. They suspect he was eavesdropping, but he just asks if they need it. Arc asks Ariane for permission, and she agrees. He tells them they'll head out tomorrow. Ariane seems totally skeptical about Karsi but keeps quiet. Arc and Ariane crash at an inn, and Ariane can't stop thinking about elves and humans coexisting, looking a little worried about that whole idea. They both drink through the night, and Ariane gets absolutely wasted, pouncing on Arc and turning the room upside down thanks to all that booze. The next day, Ariane wakes up and sees a skeleton on the floor. She tries to attack it, even though Arc reminds her it's him. Later that day, they meet up with Karsi in the desert. Karsi tells them they made a huge ruckus all night, and the whole town heard them. Ariane is so ticked off by Karsi saying that, she draws her sword. As they travel, Arc notices Ariane looking really rough, thanks to her motion sickness combined with her hangover from the night before. He also notes that the stink from the dead goblins is making her feel even worse. Karsi says the dead goblins will be bait for the sandworms he's trying to catch. One of the riders gives Arc some tea that helps with hangovers and motion sickness. Ariane seems nervous around humans, but Karsi tries to talk her out of it. Arc asks Karsi about the specific worm he's tracking, and Karsi goes into detail. He says the worm is weak to fire and loves to come out at night to eat corpses. He's studying these monsters to find a way to prevent them from hurting people in the future. Arc praises him and says he'd love to hear more about the monsters Karsi has studied. Ariane looks out of the wagon and sees the other wagons are gone, so she immediately alerts them. A giant sandworm bursts out of the ground and tries to attack a crashed wagon nearby, and Ariane jumps out to blast it with fire magic, but it does nothing. The monster changes targets to Ariane and lunges at her. Arc saves her just in time, stopping the monster right before it bites her. He tells her to rescue their ally while he holds the monster off, and as soon as she does, she tells him. Arc totally unleashes, picking up the sandworm and slamming it on the ground, which shocks everyone. Karsi thanks him and hands him the map to the Empire. Ariane asks Karsi why he lives among humans, and he says it's because he loves them. Ariane isn't expecting that answer, so she asks why. He tells her his time with the elves gave him a bad impression of humans, but ever since he started living with them, he realized they're not so different after all. He concludes that he wishes for a time when elves and humans can live together peacefully. She tells him she can't imagine a future like that, and that surprises him because she hasn't heard the latest news about Lambert. He tells them the Lord of Lambert took an elf as his bride, and she totally freaks out. She wonders if the elf was forced to marry a human, but he explains that the feeling is mutual. Arc and Ariane are heading to their spot, and Ariane's, like, totally wondering if humans and elves can actually get along. Arc, being the wise guy, tells her, yeah, someday it'll happen. Remember, I'm human and you're an elf. But Ariane just rolls her eyes all, dude, you barely even look human, so you don't count. Meanwhile, this dude with a tattoo gets chewed out by another guy. Apparently, Tattoo Guy's been making people disappear and even using their secret hideout for, hosting girls. The other guy wants to know the plan, so Tattoo Guy just tells him to follow him. He shows him this massive crater packed with monsters, then shoves one of the girls right into it. She gets totally eaten by the beasts. Yikes. Back to our heroes. Arc and Ariane finally hit the border of Kaesh, meaning they're officially in the Revlon Empire. They're both super surprised by how locked down the town is and start brainstorming their next move. They decide to split up, scouting for elves and asking around for any info. When the sun goes down, Arc's feeding Ponta when he starts remembering all the stuff he heard from the townspeople. He's like, whoa, apparently there have been weird screams from a fortress out east, late at night, and monsters are popping up on the Empire's borders, making people vanish. He's totally shocked that Kaesh isn't as safe as it looks. He even complains about not finding any elf info. He's planning to link up with Ariane, but then he hears a scream nearby, and being Arc, he rushes over to check it out. He finds a lady getting hassled by some bandits, so he swoops in to save her. She gives him a huge hug and thanks him. Just then, Ariane walks in and totally gets the wrong idea. Arc has to tell her to chill while he explains everything. Of course, Ariane just lays into him for always sticking his nose in everyone's business. She sends the lady home after confirming she's okay. Ariane's still fuming from the whole thing, so she just storms off ahead of him. Over at that eastern fortress, Tattoo Guy, whose name is Fumba, is grilling the guys Arc disciplined earlier for letting the lady escape. But these dudes are just pointing fingers at each other. Fumba, fed up, just leaves them to get eaten by one of his monsters. He then goes to check on his monsters in the huge pit, promising them more food. Ariane and Arc are standing near the fortress, and Ariane tells him about elves being brought there a few months ago. Arc figures the elves are probably long gone, and Ariane agrees, but she still wants to check it out, so they both sneak into the fortress. It's totally empty, but they find a secret underground passage. They can sense beasts below but decide to go for it anyway. They use Ponta as a distraction for the guards, taking them out in the process. Once they're past the door, the beast stench gets way stronger. They go further and find this super weird underground passage. Fumba pops up, complaining, and then he sees them. He starts drooling, checking out Ariane's body, which totally freaks her out. The second Fumba calls Ariane his, she starts attacking Arc. Fumba grins, realizing Ariane's a dark elf, and he's hit the jackpot. He orders her to kill Arc, and Arc tries to use his uncursed magic to break the spell, but it doesn't work. Ariane suddenly finds herself getting stared down by her sister. sister. Devon calls her weak and says they need to train to get stronger. She tells Ariane to show her how strong she is, but in reality, she's fighting Ark. He keeps trying the uncurse spell, but it's not working, and she's still fighting him. He comments that he feels like his spell should be working, but something's stopping it. He watches Ariane attack him and catches a glimpse of a monster in her hoodie. Ponta jumps in and yanks out a mini creature, giving Ark the chance to blast it. Ark realizes it's an imp that was casting illusions while clinging to Ariane. Fumba then introduces himself as Rosambanya, a monster sorcerer. He tells Ark he can make monsters do whatever he wants, and Ark suspects he's the one behind all the monsters attacking the forests he was in. He asks Fumba about the elves brought to the fortress 4 months ago, but Fumba just casually says most of them have been gotten rid of. He goes into gross detail about how he brutally treated them, and Ark gets absolutely furious. He slashes the giant creature behind Fumba's head with a single swing and just yells at him. Fumba summons a ton of creatures to fight Ark, but Ark sees way tougher monsters than he's ever faced. But he goes absolutely berserk and takes them all out with one hit each. Fumba keeps summoning more monsters, but Ark just keeps slaying them. One monster gets too close to Ariane, but Chiome steps in to stop it. Fumba tries to call out his monsters, but Chiome tells him it's useless because most of them are already gone. Ark asks Chiome what she's doing there, but she's surprised Ariane hadn't told him about her plans. He figures Chiome was the one who gave Ariane the intel about this fortress. The whole fortress starts shaking, and Fumba smiles, knowing his masterpiece has woken up, and he runs off, leaving them to fight his monster. But Ark teleports out of the fortress just before it crumbles. The monster bursts out of the fortress, and Ark recognizes it as a top-tier beast, with mastery over high-level water magic, a Hydra. Ark then goes into recap mode, summing up his mission and how he has to fight this abomination, the Hydra. Ark lands far away from the Hydra, and puts down Chiome and Ariane. Chiome starts talking about how the Hydra is this infamous nation ruiner, and asks if the guy from before is controlling it. Ark confirms it. Chiome keeps going on about how humans could control such a huge beast. Ark notices 5 rings on the Hydra's chest. She tells Ark they need to get ready before fighting it, and suggests they retreat. One of the Hydra's heads spots them, and shoots fire at them. Ark tries to shield the unconscious Ariane while Chiome tries to escape. Fumba stops controlling the Hydra, and starts cackling, asking how they like his power and claiming he wiped them out. Back at his village, Fumba demands why the elders won't give him the credit he deserves, saying no one in the clan compares to him. One elder tells him he's weak, and that his weakness makes him chase superficial strength, adding that they won't approve of him. The Hydra stomps around, and Fumba just admires its power, saying he'll be unstoppable with it, and make everyone who ever looked down on him bow. He sends the Hydra to devour a town. Ark managed to put up his shield just in time, saving him from the falling debris. Chiome tells Ark he couldn't even block that attack, and Ark just laughs. He says he's just a mercenary following Lady Ariane, and starts looking for her. He sees her standing on a rock, already conscious, and she tells him she was just under an illusion. She looks at Ark and tells him they need to go find Fumba, so she can make him regret what he did to those kids. Ariane and Chiome start brainstorming a plan, and as they get ready to move, Ariane tells Ark to follow her. She notices he's staring at the Hydra heading toward the town. After some discussion, he tells them he can kill it. Ariane tells Chiome to follow her, to find her enemy, and tells Ark to handle the Hydra before she leaves. At the palace, this fancy noble dude shows up to give the Emperor the lowdown. He's all like, "Yo, the Hydra project? It's ready to roll." The Emperor just grins, super creepy, and asks the noble what he should do about Fumba. Meanwhile, that Hydra is still chugging along toward the town. The gatekeepers hit the bell, signaling all the soldiers. The commander's barking orders, telling everyone where to evacuate the citizens while he rounds up his own soldiers to defend the land the Emperor entrusted to them. Suddenly, one of the Hydra's heads tries to breathe fire, but wham! Ark swoops in with a wyvern slash and cuts it off. The other heads try to attack him, but he just keeps on unleashing his moves on that beast. He uses his combat skills to chop off another head, but get this, it immediately regenerates. Ark's like, "Whoa, mythological beast much?" and retreats to cast a spell. Then boom, he summons Ifrit, the freaking Inferno demon, to face off against the Hydra, whose heads are already back. Ifrit stands ready as Ark declares to the Hydra that he's not letting it get away with this. Meanwhile, Ariane, Chiome, and Ponta are sprinting through the forest, still looking for Fumba. They totally notice Ark summoning Ifrit. Ponta spots something and darts off towards it. Fumba's totally ticked off and about to command the Hydra, but bam, Ariane interrupts him with a fireball, which he totally dodges. He sees her, and, like a total ex-lover, asks if she's back for more. She tells him she's there to kill him, which he just laughs at. Ariane acknowledges the Hydra's power, but then totally trashes him, saying he's weak. This makes Fumba remember when some old dude in his village called him weak. He angrily attacks her, but she just nullifies all his moves. When he's in a tight spot, he tries to command the Hydra again, but Chiome stops him, attacking him from behind and damaging the curse mark he's using to control the beast. Fumba just laughs, telling them the Hydra's now out of control and will eat everyone in the town it's heading for. She tells him Ark will stop it while she destroys all his ways ways of fighting back before setting him on fire to finish him off. Ifrit kicks things off by punching one of the Hydra's heads, then clocks it in the chest, sending it flying backward. Arc teleports right to the Hydra, grabs its tail, and starts swinging it around like crazy. After a bit, he flings it into the air and activates Ifrit's skill, Flame Fire. Ifrit unleashes this massive breath attack that completely eradicates the Hydra, while Ariane and Chiome watch the whole thing from where they are. The sun starts to rise, and Arc runs over to them, asking if they're okay. He asks Ariane if she handled things on her end, and she says she did. She asks Arc what Ifrit is, and he tells her he summoned the creature from another dimension, and it'll be going back real soon. A whispering fowl from Danka lands on Ariane's hand, and delivers a message. Rodan's second princess, Uriarna, is meeting with Lord Fangas, one of the great elven elders. Ariane is totally surprised. Over at the Rodan royal castle, Uriarna makes an offer to the elves. The Rodan kingdom will take responsibility for finding their missing kin. She swears on the honor of Rodan's royal family that they'll make up for the humans' crime of breaking the long-term pact with the elves and prosecuting them. Fangas asks her what else she wants, because he doesn't believe the deal's done. She talks about her siblings' backing, which makes Fangas think she wants the elves to support her for the throne. She convinces him that Rhodes will back them, mentioning that the Lord of Lambert took an elf wife, emphasizing human and elven coexistence. She extends her hand to shake Fangas's, and he agrees, taking her hand. Arc and the others are walking on a path back to the city, and Arc tries to cheer Ariane up about losing her job. At Sex Castle, one of the prince's subordinates tells him his sister, Uriarna, is still alive. He also mentions her negotiation with the elves was successful, and she's about to become super popular with the people. The prince starts to wonder about the failed assassination, thinking one of his subordinates is secretly working for his sister. In Uriarna's room, she's lying on her bed, thinking about when she got stabbed and died. She sees being alive again as a chance to accomplish something big, and tells herself she'll face whatever comes without hesitation. In the Emperor's throne room, one of his noble underlings tells him the Hydra and Fumba are both dead. The Emperor's all chill about it, saying it's no big deal, and talks about how useful the employee rings are, and how interested he is in the person who slayed the huge beast. While Arc and his team are still chatting, Arc takes off his helmet. When Chiome sees his skeleton head, she totally screams and runs to hide behind a tree, while Ariane tells her it's probably some kind of curse. Arc asks Ariane what she'll do when she gets back to Lalatoya, and she tells him she'll take him to Lord Crown so he can get into the spring that can break curses. Arc tells Chiome he'd love to visit her ninja village sometime. Arc's journey started because he wanted a quiet life, but with all these new friends he's made, he's just putting everything else aside and deciding to enjoy his adventure a little bit longer.